As I speak on the floor today, the Republicans are in conference with Speaker Boehner, talking about and getting an update on the so-called fiscal cliff negotiations. Now, there seems to have been some progress. A number of us are opposed to the idea of reducing further the already inadequate COLA granted to seniors on Social Security, but in some other areas there does seem to have been some meaningful progress. I was particularly pleased to hear that the White House is insisting that infrastructure investment needs to be part of this negotiation. You know, a third of our deficit, 1/3, is due to chronic high unemployment in the United States of America. If we could put people back to work, a third of the deficit goes away. What if we put them to work rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure? 150,000 bridges in America need substantial repair or replacement. 40% of the pavement on the national highway system be dug up. It needs new roadbed. And there is a $70 billion backlog on transit systems in this country replacing worn, outmoded equipment. Those are manufacturing jobs, engineering jobs, jobs not only in construction, but in many other areas, and they spill over into small business and the general economy. We also need to build an efficient 21st century infrastructure. It's about 27,000 jobs for every $1 billion we invest. Now, historically, we haven't borrowed money to make these investments. We have paid for our infrastructure with fees and taxes, principally the gas tax, but others. But the federal gas tax hasn't changed since 1993. In 1993, you paid $1.11 for a gallon of gas, and 18.4 cents went to build our national infrastructure. This last year, in my district, people paid over $4.40 for a gallon of gas, and 18.4 cents went to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. We've lost more than a third of the purchasing power of the Highway Trust Fund just due to inflation. And over the next 2 years, we'll borrow $18 billion just to tread water with the Highway Trust Fund. And if we want to tread water over the next 10 years, we'll borrow another $110 billion. Will that happen in deficit-obsessed Washington, D.C.? Not likely. Does that mean quicker deterioration of our infrastructure? Does that mean we forego the jobs? Perhaps not. If we just simply indexed the existing federal gas tax set in 1993 at 18.4 cents to highway cost construction inflation and improved fleet fuel economy so that you don't lose ground because people purchase less gas, we could, over the next decade, save $128 billion deficit reduction and have an additional increment on top of that to begin to catch up with the huge backlog in our crumbling infrastructure in this country and put millions of people to work. It seems a very sensible solution: deficit reduction, jobs, and sound infrastructure. I hope those on the other side of the aisle will be receptive to the proposals for the White House for this needed investment. This isn't the stupid stimulus bill that threw everything but the kitchen sink at the economy. Many things were not well spent. 4% of that money, 4%, went to infrastructure investment. Over 40% went to stupid tax cuts that didn't put anybody back to work.
Gentleman yields. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Lee, for 5 minutes.